This video is going to get me in a lot of trouble, but here it goes. Please be kind in the comments. Why is it that oftentimes dumb people are able to retire much earlier and much happier than smart people? Now, I worked as a financial advisor for over 20 years before I retired myself, so maybe I'm not that smart. Uh, but these are my observations. And again, be kind in the comments. I'm using this as to put caution if you're one of these smart people that suffer from any of these situations I'm about to share. And the first one is smart people tend to overanalyze things. Now, the decision to retire is super important, and you want to give it good quality analysis. You want to retire with confidence. You want to retire with clarity. You want to retire with joy in your heart. But there is always a reason to not retire. There's one more bonus coming. There's the 401k match. There's the sales trip to the Bahamas. Whatever it is, companies purposely put something every quarter to give you the golden handcuffs to keep you on the payroll and from retiring because they want you to stay there. And I don't blame the companies, but that can be a hurdle for smart people where they're like, boy, this $30,000 over the next 30 years of my life could grow to $250,000. And it might. But you know what else might happen? In the next 6 months, you might lose your health. In the next 6 years, you may have a stroke. You may have a heart attack. You may get a cancer diagnosis. And you might wish that you had those years. So one of the reasons that it's hard for smart people to retire is they're always the dials are always turning, and they're thinking about the money that they're leaving on the table. And it's easy to optimize on your bank account because every month when your bank account comes in, you can see how much money you have. And it's easy to say, well, I want this to grow. And we all want it to grow, but a couple things. Unless your goal is to be the richest person in the cemetery, it likely, which I don't think many of us have that goal. At some point, we have to make that transition. So why not make that transition when we have our health, when we have our full mental acuity, while we still have that inner flame that's giving us the energy? The reality, unfortunately, is we're not gonna have the vitality, we're not gonna have the energy that we have today. So that's the first reason. The second reason is there is a tool that financial advisors use, and our intent is good. But when folks are really smart, they can start to game it, and they can actually game themselves out of the youth of their senior years. And let me tell you what that tool is. The tool's called a Monte Carlo simulation. And it's a statistical tool that financial advisors use, and the output of that is, hey, you have an 80% likelihood of never running out of money during your lifetime. You have a 90%, you have a 95, a 97%. Um, and there can be this sense of certainty using a Monte Carlo simulation where, there is no certainty. The reality is, until 2 days ago, none of us knew what the tax rates were gonna be on January 1st of 2026, and I'm referring to the Trump, big beautiful bill and the tax cuts being extended, and them not going away. But, even though now we know what the tax rates are gonna be probably for the next 3 or 4 years, we don't know what they're gonna be in 10 years. We don't know what inflation's gonna be this year or next year. We don't know what the stock market returns are gonna be this year or next year. We don't know what the solution to Social Security is going to be. So when financial advisors put this data in a Monte Carlo simulation and say, you have an 85% chance of never running out of money, that can give a sense of certainty. And for smart people, they can say, well, what does it take to get that 85% to 95% or 97%? And frankly, as a financial advisor, that's what we want to give our clients is 95%, 97%, 99% likelihood of never running out of money, because nobody wants their client to run out of money in their old age, and you don't want to run out of money in your old age. But the reality is there is not that certainty. And the way that you go from an 85% likelihood of success to a 95%, you pay for that with years of your life. And for most people, it's going to be 3, 4, 5 years to go from an 80, 85% to a 95, 97% certainty of not running out of money. And a smart person can think, okay, I understand statistics, I understand math well, I understand scenarios, and you can tweak things. But there's so many factors out of your control. So I urge it not to tweak that, to use it as a guideline as opposed to gospel. I wish it was gospel. I wish there was a way to give you confidence. No financial advisor can give you certainty. There is a way to give you confidence. There is a way to give you clarity, but there is no way to give you certainty, right? We don't, how many of us are going to be alive in 6 years? We don't know. And so smart people can tend to overthink the situation. And so that's one is with the Monte Carlo simulation. Um, and the other one is just smart people tend to like to have control, and it can be hard for them to give up control to a third party. It's one of the most common comments that I get in the comments section of my videos is, "Hey, Azul, I would never hire a financial advisor either. I don't want to pay the money or I don't want to give up that control." So finding a good fiduciary financial advisor can be a challenge. One place to look is there is an association. This is not sponsored. This is not an affiliate, but there is an association of fee-only financial advisors. And the organization is called the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, NAPFA. And if you go to napfa.org, you can find, and you can put in your zip code, you can find fee-only financial advisors near you. And if you still say, you know what, I'm still not, I'm never going to use a financial advisor, if that's you, I urge you to use software that's designed to help you make the best decisions for you. The software that I like is not Google. It's not Excel. It's just too easy to make a mistake using Excel or Google Sheets. The software that I like that's designed for people like us is called Boldin, Boldin. It used to be called New Retirement. If you want to give Boldin a try, they do have a free trial. It's very affordable. If you want to give it a try, please use the link in my description because it'll be supporting the channel. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and think about subscribing. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Also, in the link is a way for you to get my weekly newsletter. Okay, what's another thing that makes it hard for smart people to retire? And that is, believe it or not, smart, often work for dumb people. Where smart people can be so good at what they do and can also tend to be a little more risk adverse that oftentimes we end up working for somebody that's more comfortable putting caution to the wind and taking risks that you and I would not take. And that makes them more likely to be an entrepreneur and more likely to be the CEO or the founder of the company, and us more likely to be working for somebody like that. So, as I talk to people in their 50s or 60s or 70s and older, one of the biggest thing is just regret that they never took the risk. They never swung the bat at the plate when they had the opportunity. And if you're in your 50s and your 60s, I think later in our career can be a wonderful time to think about doing something entrepreneurial. If you're in your 20s or 30s, right, the entrepreneurial path has a very high failure rate. And if you're in your 20s and 30s and you have a strikeout, that can, it shouldn't, but it can tarnish your reputation for a period of time at a time where working with the right mentor, working with the right company means a lot. In our 50s and 60s, we may have already finished up our professional career, so the risk of doing something entrepreneurial, ironically, might be less later in life. So that's something to think about. Another thing to think about is, how do you enjoy your journey fully in your 50s and 60s until it's time to retire? And that's why I made this video here that talks about 8 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s to enjoy your journey until you get to retire. Thanks for watching this video. Bye-bye.